Anybody got a prescription, yeah, for this love thing? Anybody got a pill like a pop?
Hello. Welcome to another Friday night quarantine edition of All the Way Live with the Love Byrds. I am one half of your dynamic duo, and I go by the name of Dr. James Byrd. And this beautiful, talented, anointed woman sitting right here to my side, as usual, is my wife, my partner for life, and she goes by the name of
Dr. Angel Byrd.
And together we are
the Love
Byrds. All right. And we are again always happy to be with you on a Friday evening. And we're still quarantining this thing. You know, but we're gonna keep making it happen, keep making it do what it do. How about that? Huh?
How long are we gonna say that?
We're gonna keep quarantine till it's safe not to quarantine.
Oh my God.
How about that?
Jeez.
How about that? How are you doing this Friday evening, sweetie?
I'm better today.
Better today?
Better today.
Well, that is a great thing. Go ahead and greet the people, say hello, and then I'll greet the people.
Welcome to All the Way Live with the Love Byrds. We are so happy to have you. Can you see we're on vacation? And we're so happy that you joined us today. We wouldn't miss you guys for nothing in the world unless we just had to take a break. But welcome to the show. Remember, my favorite thing is push the button, share with others so their marriage can be as blessed as yours.
Go ahead, push your button. Push your button. I dare you. Push your button. Yeah. Well, you can see by the title today that we're going to give you some keys, some tips, some ways to try to reach 50th anniversaries in your weddings. Not a lot of people are reaching 50th wedding anniversaries.
No.
You know, these days. You know, back in the day, that used to be a commonplace, a common thing. Yeah. But nowadays, not a lot of people are meeting 50 years, or when I say meeting, or getting to 5. We're not getting 5. Hey, when we hit 25 a few years ago, that was just like a huge milestone because not even a lot of people are reaching 25.
And when we tell them how long we've been married, you know, and it's amazing, we have certain friends. We have the Parkers, we have the Cobbins, and different ones. We all been married around the same time, you know, and so some of our friends are staying married, you know, and things like that. But based on what we do as marriage and family therapists, we see a lot of people getting a divorce. Yeah. So that's the saddest thing.
And so we want to show you some ways to reach 50. Yeah. For some of y'all, to reach 5. You know, start with 5 before you can get to 50. Mm-hmm. Get to 10, get to 15, get to 20. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And as I said, it's very rare. It's very rare. Usually, unfortunately, if you know someone, they've reached 50 years on a wedding anniversary. Mm-hmm. So that means they're probably at least 70 years old, more than likely. But if they've reached 50 years on a wedding anniversary, there's several things that have had to happen for someone to reach 50 years.
Absolutely.
You know, first of all, for them not to have divorced, they had to usually have some tools in place that kept them going in. Now, there are occasions where people reach 50 years is because they just decide that we're just not getting divorced. How bad it is, she cheating, he cheating, whatever, how miserable it is, we live in the same home, don't hardly speak, just a miserable marriage. We're not talking about that type of foolishness. We want you to reach 50 years and be happy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so for you to reach 50 years and be happy, there's got to be some things in place, some tools, some keys that that work for you. That work for everybody in order to reach 50 years. And so we're going to talk about some of these. This is not necessarily an exhaustive list, but we'll definitely talk about the ones that we'll talk about today are definitely a part of that. All right, you ready?
Ready.
All right, so here we go. 8 key ingredients for a strong marriage. Number 1, love and respect. All right? Yeah. Love and respect. And when you're in conflict, some notes up here. When you're in conflict with your spouse, do you ever feel unloved or disrespected? Think about that for a second. When you're in conflict, I'm not talking about when everything is rosy, but when you had that war, that conflict, when something didn't go right, the moments right after that, do you ever feel either unloved, or do you ever feel disrespected? All right, now let me tell you, 83% of the men that were polled said during that time they feel disrespected, and some like 70% of the women said at that time they feel unloved. So usually when there's a conflict going on between a husband and wife, the man feels disrespected and the woman feels unloved.
But the difference between the two is, I'm not saying the difference, this is what happens. The man said, why you disrespected me? She has not a clue unless she knows for sure that that's what she's doing. And then when the woman says, I just don't feel love, the man doesn't have a clue. We leave it there. No one really ever tells what that looks like, because we say men want to be respected, but they never say what, because it's not across the board. Your respect level and what you need to feel respected would be completely different than another person's husband or whatever. So the conversation has to take place. Okay, what does that look like for you? And what is it that makes you feel disrespected? Because if you just say, stop disrespecting me, and then it happens year after year, month after month, then it's going to keep on happening until we have a verbal conversation of what that looks like. And if I say, you don't love me, and you know and feel in your heart that you do, then I have to express what that looks like for me. So basically.
And in relationships where you've had those types of discussions, and you do know that, maybe the man said, when you raise your voice at me or whatever, when you challenge me or whatever, something like that, or the woman says, when you don't talk to me or you don't,
but we're not talking about us. We're like talking about the people that normally don't even have these conversations.
Yeah, that's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, now then I switched. I said, but then for people, because we're not the only people that have had conversations about it. So, but now for people that have had conversations, maybe you don't have them on a regularly enough basis, but for people who've had conversations on that, when you get into this cycle, it starts a cycle, and that can almost kind of be a never-ending cycle where now that I feel disrespected, when I feel disrespected, if I'm not careful, then it's hard for me to do the things that make you feel loved.
Absolutely.
And vice versa. When you feel unloved, it's easier for you to do the things that make me feel disrespected. And so it starts.
It's easier for me to do the things that make you feel disrespected or respected.
When you feel unloved.
Oh, okay, yes.
When you feel unloved,
got it.
Then it's easier for you to, if that thing was raising your voice at me or whatever. When you feel unloved, you're in a position to raise your voice at me or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you're irritated. You're not in a good place because you feel unloved.
Yeah.
And when I feel disrespected, I'm not feeling like being loving.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
In your humanness.
Yeah, in your humanness. So, good point. So it starts a cycle that for some people, it's a never-ending cycle until they end up in divorce.
Yeah.
And so, you share, so close it and just rock. Okay. And so it could be a never-ending cycle that leads to some people divorce, unless they're willing to, on a regular basis, engage into number 2 key for, trying to reach 50 years in marriage, and that is forgiveness. Nice segue from 1 to 2, isn't it? Forgiveness.
And people really think forgiveness is, I'm not mad at you no more. But the moment they do anything that resemble what you were holding them hostage about, and it causes you to go right back into that place, there's something you haven't dealt with. And that's what people don't understand. Forgiveness is a made up mind to do it and then walk the journey.
Right.
And a lot of people think the moment they say, I forgave you, they don't have these feelings. No, you have to address things. We can't just sweep stuff under the rug and act like we don't have feelings. We have to address that. And even if you have to sit down and talk about it every day, it needs to happen until you're free, where you feel like, I love this person in this area no matter what, and your feathers, and you're not being made to feel so upset or whatever the word you would use in that situation. So we really have to deal with that word forgiveness, because that thing right there will take you out.
That's a good point. I agree with that. And so, in my notes here on forgiveness, for some people, the only thing that stops that cycle of hurt is, a cycle of hurt and bitterness is forgiveness. Okay, and some even have said, this is not just like just a cross the board statement, but some people really feel like marriage is really all about forgiveness.
Is it? Oh my God.
Being successful in marriage. Listen, go ahead.
Okay, I think that the level of your forgiveness is the level of your brokenness. So if you're so sensitive and so broken and shattered in pieces where every little thing affects you, you will continue to walk in unforgiveness until you heal in certain areas. So back in the day, every little thing that my husband would do would be just woo, woo, woo. And then you have to go into those secret places to get healed. So when something is said, it don't feel like an attack, and it doesn't feel like rejection, and it doesn't feel like those things. But if you don't deal with yourself, you can live in that place forever.
Yeah, no, I agree
you really
with that.
can.
I agree with that. And so, forgiveness is the thing that stops that cycle of feeling unloved or feeling disrespected. But then in order to be able to forgive and forgive on a regular basis, we know it takes God and understanding,
and renewing your mind.
Renewing your mind. But one of the things that you have to do in the natural, which is the next thing, number 3 here, is communicate.
Yeah.
Communication. Communication, and we know communication is everything to most women.
Man.
It is everything, and communication is everything to a good relationship.
Yeah.
I wrote this down. I read this somewhere. It said, "She wants to know what you are feeling, thinking, and doing at all times."
Absolutely.
And to the natural man, because we don't necessarily feel like that, that can come off as feeling like, sometimes it can feel like controlling, sometimes it be nosy, sometimes it just be, I don't know what. But that's the way that makes her feel loved, when she can communicate with you what you're feeling, thinking, and doing. And most men are not used to communicating their feelings. And then,
I just want to add to that. If with all things being equal, and there hasn't been any trust broken or anything like that, and you're doing that, then that's natural. But if there's been infidelity and things like that, and you're doing it for those reasons, then there's still healing that has to take place if you're going to remain in the relationship. Because sometimes it can be overbearing. Like, okay, I just went upstairs, and I just came back downstairs and you're just going through my phone. Things like that. It's like, what's causing that behavior? What don't you trust, and what do you think they're up to, or have they been up to something? Have the trust been broken for you to feel like that's necessary? So those things have to be addressed as well.
Absolutely. And so, like I said, she wants to know what your she wants to know what her man is feeling, thinking, or doing. But also, she wants her husband to ask her how she's feeling, thinking, and doing. And so
that's even better.
That's what she wants from us.
Why can't y'all get it? Why can't you get it?
Tell them we're not wired that way. All things being natural, we're not wired that way. But that's what she wants, and that's what we have to lean towards, get more towards, and move towards the middle on it. Meaning, a man may not ever be into feeling, thinking, and doing communication as much as a woman is. But he can't stay where he is with his fellas.
Absolutely not. He cannot.
So he's got to come some way towards her, but she got to come some way towards him as well.
Yeah.
So that communication is a very big part. So those for the first 3 keys. So number 4 is taking ownership and responsibility. Okay, this is another good key to helping you reach 50 years of marriage and get to a 50-year anniversary where you could be celebrated by all the world to see. Taking ownership. This is mainly the man's burden of responsibility for his family, but there are areas in our lives that both the husband and the wife have to own up to.
Yeah.
Okay, and listen, you can't challenge the other person on whatever they do or whatever they don't do, or things like that. And then when you don't do something, expect it just to be like, oh, my bad.
Why not? No. Why not? No.
You gotta take ownership and responsibility for it. When you put your word out there, when you say you're gonna do something, you don't do it. When you say you're gonna do something, you forget to do it. When we've had a communication about something we do or don't like, and it still happens anyway, whatever the case may be, each person has to take ownership and responsibility for their part in any type of mess that's going on. And that's one of the problems in relationships, that when there's mess going on, we only really want to focus on what that other person is doing that's hurting us.
That's human nature.
That human nature. But we usually, there's 90% of the time, there's something that we both play in, whatever mess we've gotten ourselves into.
I just know, for me, I know now that I wasn't built to handle stress. I mean, it's like when stuff starts happening,
You say?
and things start shifting, and things become a little chaotic or anything like that. It's just like, oh my God. And I realized it, especially here recently. Like this stuff, why has it got to be like this, And so
I've known him for a while, but I wouldn't dare tell you that, because you never would have thought, I don't think you in the past would have owned up to that.
Yeah, and I realize now that I wasn't built for that. I'm built for smooth.
And what she means, I think what she's kind of meaning by this is that it doesn't mean that she's going to not continue, not go through, not push, not fight. She's a fighter.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that. What it just means is that it won't be as smooth.
Yeah.
You'll get the worst of her. Like she may say, "I'll tap out."
Yeah, literally.
And then, an hour later, she get back in the fight.
Yeah.
But at a moment in the stress or whatever, she might tap out, or she might yell, or she might, she'll act in a ways where it's just like overwhelming.
I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. And so you got to know and know when to tap out and to take a break, because if you don't, all you're going to do is make the situation worse and hurt people along the way.
Yeah. And I would definitely, say men, when it comes to the area of taking ownership around responsibility, you gotta feel for yourself that you gotta take more of the area of ownership and responsibility, because at the end of the road, you're the man, you're the foundation of the family, the foundation of the man, you're the one that's responsible, in most cases for making sure that family is walking with God, that marriage is doing right, the family is doing right, and if something's going on with your wife, even if you didn't cause it, maybe it was caused by her father, or no good daddy, or a no good former marriage relationship she was in, or boyfriend that hurt her, whatever the case may be. If there was something there before you, God has in you the ability to redeem her.
Yeah.
And listen, I know this may be tough for some of you that are out there, because I've recently talked to a few guys and this is rare, but I've really recently talked to a few guys that are trying to do their marriage Christ-like. They're trying to get counseling, they're trying to do the right thing, but they're actually married to women who are just trying to be partiers and hang out and go out with the girlfriends and all that, and maybe at the beginning of it, and because a lot of times, let me tell you something, listen, the way you go into a marriage, the way you start a marriage, man, it's very important.
Yeah, very vital.
It's very vital. What do I mean by that? Let's say that you a man, you got ready to marry this woman, and she kind of had, financially, she had her stuff together. Mm-hmm. She had a home, she had a car, she had a job, or whatever. You had a job, you maybe had a car, but you didn't have a home. Maybe you had a little apartment or something like that. And so you get married, y'all get married, then you move into the house that she had for 20 years before you married her. Now, you didn't have another home that y'all sold and brought income to or whatever. No, you didn't have a home for y'all to move into. So you moved into the home, y'all agreed to move into the home that she had. Listen, if you're not a strong man and a strong leader or whatever, that woman that leadership in a woman can rise up, especially in today's woman.
Yeah.
She's working, she's doing all this stuff, it can rise up. And then 5 years in, 10 years into this marriage, you look up and like, you don't have much say so.
Because we've counseled a lot.
She makes all the decisions,
Yeah.
she does, and then after 5-10 years, she's tired of it.
Yeah.
And she's saying like, you don't ever say nothing, you don't ever do nothing,
Yeah.
or whatever. And it's like, you never had a voice, you never had a mouth.
But guess what? Even though she may do that, he'll hold her responsible completely, because why did he put himself in that situation?
That's what I'm saying right here.
Yeah.
The way you start is very important.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If you out there and you're engaged or something like that,
handle your business.
You handle your business. It might not be time to get married.
Yeah.
You know, or it might be, maybe, you know what, we're going to sell that house and buy a house that we can both move into, or we're going to move into whatever. But, that can be dangerous if you start off like that.
Yeah, because when another person is your spouse, you become one. In that home, they feel like it's just yours. That's bad.
That's bad.
That they don't feel welcome, and they feel like if they move this, touch that, or do that, then I remember one couple, it was like they couldn't touch the pillows on the couch. They couldn't do all kind of, how do you make someone live like that? And it's like, and they didn't think that when they moved into your spot, that become both of you guys, that they were going to be treated that way.
No, they didn't think that.
And that's not okay. And it's like, so I would say, if you've lived in that home with another woman or another husband, wife, or whatever, get another house, because that's very difficult, especially if it's the man and you were married to someone and now she has to transition. And I wouldn't want to come behind that.
Nope.
I would not want to come behind that or whatever after you spent all these years and time with someone else in this home. I just wouldn't want to.
That would be
very difficult.
Very, very difficult. And if maybe, maybe she makes, $75,000 a year and you make $40,000, or you make $35,000 or whatever. That doesn't give her the right to make all the decisions and things like that, or your voice to be less than hers.
Absolutely.
What that means is y'all make $115,000 together.
Completely.
And
y'all made more than what y'all made before y'all got together.
Absolutely. And the one who makes less money doesn't have less of a voice. The same thing if it's in, a home where a man makes, $100,000 and his wife doesn't work.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that she doesn't have a voice.
Yeah.
She has the same, that you're one.
Man, if we can just really get there where you understand that you're harming yourself. You think you're harming the other person, or the other person is being hurt or harmed, but if I'm hurting, you're harming yourself. If I'm in a bad situation, you say, well, that's on you, it ain't me. Guess what it is? It's on you, because if I'm jacked up, then it's on you.
Absolutely.
And if you don't get that through your head, you'll keep going through this thing separate. Like, I'm fine, but you're not. I'm good, why aren't you? That's no such thing.
Nope.
Because if I'm not good, the marriage is not good.
Absolutely.
And so,
and we're gonna do 4. We'll do these 4 today and then 4 next week. But this taking your responsibility is key. So we mentioned a couple things. We mentioned finance. We mentioned who got a home for whatever. But the key to this, to where we ended up going with this, is this unity.
yeah.
Is understanding being one. So look at your marriage and see what areas are you not operating in one. And I don't mean like, when it comes to me and her, when it comes to decorating and moving stuff here and putting stuff here, whatever, that doesn't mean as much to me as it does to her. So I'm not gonna put up a big fight to, how you want that picture and, what furniture you want to get or whatever. I'm not gonna put up a big fight in that or whatever. But things that are essential, then both of your voice matters.
Need to be heard.
And that's one of the major keys, and that's not even in this list. So if you're ready to end up talking about this, because to get 50, one of the ways to get to a 50th wedding anniversary is to become one.
Yeah.
In everything, in the way you operate, the way you think, and just in so much, and that takes communication, that takes forgiveness, that takes these things that we've talked about today.
Yeah, and knowing who you are, and knowing what your limits are and what you're like. You have to know those things. And the older I get, the more I realize those things.
Absolutely.
You can't admit something back then when you don't realize it's you. As you grow and you get older, you realize certain things about you. And so you just have to be able to repair and adjust.
Absolutely.
Adjust and repair.
And listen, we're all flawed.
Yeah.
We have issues. We're all flawed. And the reason you haven't been able to see yours that much is because you've been too busy focusing on your spouses or other people. And you gotta take that, remove that plank out of your eye, that boulder out of your eye.
You can't carry both of them.
Before you start picking at that speck, that toothpick in their eye. You know what I'm saying? And so we'll stop there for today. Any comments you want to mention or anything today?
No, I'm just glad you guys keep tuning in, and that this is hopefully for you to keep tuning in, that it's blessing your relationships and your marriages. And we pray that you are sharing it with other people so we can keep on giving you guys free marriage counseling.
And the way, let me tell you, one of the ways that works best and helps best for you is not one specific show that just helped you, but it's a culmination of listening regularly that renews your mind.
Absolutely.
And it's over time that you realize that you're better.
Yeah.
You're different, you're changed, your marriage is better. So don't say, okay, I've listened to 8 shows or I should be good, I don't need this more. I've been married almost 29 years now, and I talk about marriage and do marriage, and I still listen to marriage stuff because we always need it. We always need to keep it in front of us.
Because this is the number one thing on earth. Outside of you serving God, the next thing is the marriage relationship, because that's what God instituted first.
You thought it was how much money you make. No. This is the next
Money
thing.
can't even keep your marriage together.
That's right. If so, all the people who are wealthy would have great marriages.
Be married. Ask Amazon.
You putting people out there now. You gonna throw Bezos out there.
I'm like, you're the richest man in the world. Why aren't you still married? Why you couldn't keep it?
Right. If the richest man in the world can't keep a marriage, then money don't make a marriage.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good way to drop that mic. All right. This has been another weekend edition of All the Way Live with the Love Byrds. Again, I am one half of your dynamic duo. I go by the name of Dr. James Byrd. And this beautiful lady here, she goes by the name of
Dr. Angel Byrd.
And together we are
the Love Byrds.
We'll see you next Friday, 6 p.m. Central.
Got a prescription, yeah, for this love thing. Anybody got